Laños.
Less than 24 hours after firing their head coach, Adrian Griffin, it looks like the Milwaukee Bucks have found their new head coach, as the latest reports are saying that Doc Rivers is finalizing an agreement to become the next coach of the Bucks. In the NFL, this is according to Bleacher Report. Jim Harbaugh is currently scheduled to interview today with the Falcons for a second time. Atlanta is also bringing in Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick for an in-person second interview on Thursday. The Panthers are doing in-person interviews with Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris and Bucks offensive coordinator Dave Canales for their vacant head coaching job today. The Packers have parted ways with defensive coordinator Joe Barry. He had been with Green Bay since 2021. And at the Australian Open, number 2 Carlos Alcaraz lost his quarterfinal match to number 6 Alexander Zverev 3-1.
This is the Miller's Edge with Christian Miller, two-time national champion and team captain for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and former Carolina Panther, and his father, Corey Miller, the Pastor of Pain, a 9-year NFL veteran with the New York Giants, and University of South Carolina Hall of Famer. This is the Miller's Edge.
It's the Hump Day from the Miller's Edge on the Tide, 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. Hope you're doing well. We're halfway through the week. And, of course, you like being right there in the middle, knowing that you're looking towards the end, meaning Friday. But, hey, Hump Day is what it's all about. And speaking of Hump Day, if you're just not joining our show, when we had our last show, the hour segment, we did something every Wednesday. Or almost every Wednesday, what we like to call Rush around the SEC. We'll introduce that back in the program here on today. So a lot of good things happening in the SEC, a lot of good basketball we'll talk about here in just a little bit that falls right in or underneath that category. So we got that to get into. Of course, we love hearing from you. Welcome all you that are listening to us on the Tide 100.9, that free app that you can download on your smartphone, your Apple, or your Android. Of course, any pad that you have, you can get it on there as well, computer. You can do it right there. Send in those thoughts, those questions, your comments. We welcome those every single day, so please and thank you for doing that. If you listen to us on our YouTube Extra page, we say hello, everybody, as I'm waving to you right now. Good Wednesday. Happy Hump Day to you. Thank you for joining us on that platform. So every type of social media, we're going to try to get to you. We're going to make sure you hear this show wherever you are, in your car, on the dial, Tide 100.9 or 1230 AM WTBC. We welcome you as well. Like I said, a lot of stuff to get into on the program today. Of course, we do have guests today. And on today, Chris Stewart will join us to talk about the big matchup that's happening at Coleman Coliseum. Yep, tonight. It's going to be a good one. It's not the Iron Bowl, but boy, it's going to feel like it. Auburn and Alabama clashing, two of the best teams in the SEC as far as basketball. We'll talk about that. We'll talk with Chris Stewart. He will join us on the program. We appreciate him. That will be around 1:30 on the show on today. Plus, we'll talk about in our rush around the SEC. We'll probably do that right off the get up. South Carolina. You see it right here. There, I get it. Yeah, the Gamecocks, the Block C, that's who I am. And big win. Boy, you know who I haven't heard from? That old boy from Tennessee named Jeff. Jeff, I know you listen. Call, holler at your boy. What about the Wildcats? Get beat down here in Columbia last night. The Gamecocks doing their thing. We'll talk about that. What a great win for Lamont Paris in his second year as the head coach of South Carolina. But we got a lot to get into, plus football as always. Greg McElroy has some interesting things he had to say. I don't know if you saw that. We'll talk about what he had to say with his conversation with head coach Kalen DeBoer and Greg Byrne. What does that mean for Alabama and the program? We'll talk about that. That being said, Christian Miller is down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama in the studio. He and the great reader, the best reader of Alabama, our very own Noah Haynes, is behind the glass. Guys, happy Hump Day to you.
What's going on?
Not much. It always takes me about 5 minutes to do the start of the show, so I got to get a little drink of
and I always take about 5 minutes to clear my throat, man. I swear, I don't know if it's the weather.
You didn't do that like while you doing your last two sets of shrugs.
Well, no, the problem is I don't have a mute button in here. You know, like when I do a broadcast, like with the football
game. Don't have a mute button in there?
Nah. Can we get a mute button in this room?
Yeah, they call it a cough button on it.
Yeah, a cough button. A cough button. We need a cough button. Like when
yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, when I'm broadcasting games, like you got the cough button. It's easy. You just tap that thing. So
I'll talk to corporate.
Yeah, there you go. That way you don't have to
go talk to corporate.
Hey, Noah's gonna make moves, man. Noah's big time. Noah's big time. But yeah, no, sorry. I apologize. You have to hear me clear my throat all the time. But I didn't hear Greg's comments, but I'll definitely will check it out. I did listen to Coach DeBoer on ESPN earlier. Matter of fact, he just finished up maybe 15 minutes ago. He was on.
I hope we get that sound.
Yeah. As soon as they upload it to YouTube, which they're typically pretty quick, but he was on with Pat McAfee and really good.
Oh no, he's on the McAfee show.
Yeah, he was on the McAfee show, and Pat McAfee, man, he's a straight shooter and asked a bunch of good questions, and he asked about, and we'll pull the clips, but basically asked about how he's getting acclimated to the South in terms of how it's going and what the transition's been like. Kind of what his game plan is, and Pat was even basically just saying it's definitely going to be a challenge. Pat was like, no disrespect to the Pac-12, but there's going to be a big challenge. We all know SEC country, and Coach DeBoer, acknowledged that and said he's excited for it. So you got to love that confidence and energy from Coach DeBoer because he's obviously aware that SEC football is a different breed, and he's not shying away from it. Obviously. The guy is confident, obviously, if he wants to come fill the shoes of Coach Saban. But I'm not one of those people that makes it seem like nobody would do it. If anything, I respect that, but I also think it's a great opportunity. I know people were scared of it, or so they say. But to me, like if you want to be, cement your name in the legacy of coaching, I get people go, well, the odds of following up are great, but man, shoot, that's a great way to really leave your mark, right? If you go and follow up a coach like Coach Saban. Hell, I mean, you're going to be down in history for sure, as you probably can hear some of this rain pouring down, so I'll make sure I close that window. But with that being said, definitely a lot to dive into, and looking forward to having Chris on at 1:30, so that'll be good.
All right, let's start right there. I mean, we'll get to basketball in just a moment, but let's start right there. So we are live and local, so we'll start with the Tide, still a heavy topic with Kalen DeBoer, the head coach, and now on Pat McAfee. But listen, guys, I mean, here's what I'm talking about. You got to talk about realness, right? We can appreciate the Pac-12, but have we ever given the Pac-12 any street cred? Be honest with me. When's the last time any of you have said, oh, the Pac-12 is that real deal? And we talked about all these different things and how Kalen DeBoer and Coach Womack is going to come in here and just change things very quickly, and all of a sudden, but I'm glad that we got a reporter that said, hey, listen, no disrespect, but it is the Pac-12 because Pac-12 was the last.
Wait, hold on. They were they gave a lot of credit to his record, and they noted even at Sioux Falls that it definitely. That's all. Wait, I mean, you got to hear it before you go down that path. I get what you're saying.
Man, I ain't got to hear nothing. This is my opinion. My opinion is it's easy to say these things when the guy now is on your side. But I'm just saying, if we are real, none of us and none of the thousands and tens of thousands of people was singing any praise. Probably didn't even know who Kalen DeBoer was. Let's be honest. Have you ever heard of Kalen DeBoer until Washington made the college football playoff? Honest question.
Not much, no.
Noah, have you heard of Kalen DeBoer?
Noah's not a big football guy, though.
I had not, but I don't. Like Christian said, I don't know that it proves the point.
Well, why are we going down this path, man? This always just leads us to troubled waters. I don't even care to go down. Like it doesn't matter, man.
It doesn't matter because the people
we're beating a dead horse. Like
the people are making these assumptions all of a sudden, right? I mean, we have here's a show of positivity. And I'm gonna bring everybody that I can bring to tell you how great this person or that guy or this thing is. And that's not being truthful. So my point is, I'm just glad my man McAfee at least asked the question. Like, it ain't gonna be as easy as people are thinking. That's all I'm saying.
He also was given, tremendous credit to the record that he said. I mean, they made sure they highlighted. It wasn't like, are you? He just acknowledged it, and just like I think anybody else will acknowledge. I mean, everybody knows the SEC is a better conference than Pac-12. Like, I mean, we know that,
more.
huh? Yeah, it just means
more.
No, it does. I'll pull the clips and let you hear. Like I said, I wasn't trying to, when I brought that up, I was not trying to say, oh, see somebody I'm so sick and tired of this whole thing. This whole debate over, you're supporting, you're not supporting, like, it's so immature. And it's so outplayed. I'm so over. I honestly don't care to talk about it anymore.
That Coach DeBoer said they're not rebuilding, they're reloading.
He did say that.
I like that.
Yeah, no, he clearly said that, the guys in this locker room are going to be the nucleus, they're going to be the core. And he made a great point. Everybody's talking about, going and getting guys. Well, we have a great group of guys right here in Tuscaloosa that's arguably better than majority of college football's rosters. And even Coach DeBoer said that. I mean, they asked him, like, wouldn't you say this is the most talented group of players that you've ever had? And he said, absolutely. And that's even with the players that have left via the transfer portal. So that being said, yeah, I mean, you got to be optimistic. I mean, again, when you really dive into it, man, I mean, you can't take success away from anybody. I get Sioux Falls is a smaller school, but still, man, he played with the same group of players that the other teams had. I mean, unless he was doing some type of secret recruiting, which I highly doubt, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. And I get the Pac-12 is, not the greatest conference, but to go 25-3, I believe, that still is impressive. I don't care who it is. So, I mean, he's definitely proven that he can turn programs around. Now, I do agree when people say that it's going to be a much greater challenge coming to Alabama and doing it. Yeah, I mean, because look, I've lived it. I've been in the SEC. I've played here 5 years, right? I mean, playing the SEC is not easy, right? I mean, it's a grueling task. I mean, each week you're playing a very capable team, very physical. But that was another thing you mentioned on there. I mean, they talked about his offense being an explosive offense, but he also emphasized physicality and how important that is. So definitely a lot of stuff to be optimistic about. So I'm excited. I think it's a good move, and I think that as long as we continue to do the right things off the field and get the right pieces in place, both players and support staff, coaches, all that good stuff, I think we're in good shape. But definitely think it's going to be a challenge for sure, which he acknowledged. Anybody knows that, right?
But you got to give him street cred just for taking the job, because who you follow, right? And the pressure that comes along with it. So I give him tons of credit. And hey, you know what? I'm leaving a place that I've just finished a national championship game. And I got a lot of good dudes here, but I'm going to take this challenge of following the GOAT, and so that tells you what kind of mentality this dude is, right? Just by taking that job, because he is not afraid to follow Nick Saban. So that tells me that he's the type of dude, he ain't scared. Oh no, he ain't scared. So I give him that. But at the same time, we got to be realistic about where they are. We'll talk about that. Alabama was a really good football team. Nick Saban did his best coaching job, in my opinion, this past season. But they weren't a great team. But yet they still could have had some great success, and they were still close. So where is this team really? I want to get into some of that coming up. Where is this Crimson Tide team really? I ain't talking about the hope. We're not talking about crazy optimism, but I'm talking about where is this team? And based on what they have coming up on that schedule in 24, we're talking about that. Plus, I'll let you hear a little bit what Greg McElroy had to say from Cube and Kublik, whatever they call it, McElroy and Kublik, this morning about his conversation with Kalen DeBoer and Greg Byrne. We'll talk about that. This is the Mills Edge. We're on the Tide 100.9, 1230 a.m. WTBC Quick Timeout is sponsored by our good friends. Where they are? They call it a good free store. They right over there in Midtown Village, not far from Skyline Boulevard. 5 minutes. Go see my man Douglas. Try before you buy. 2 feet at a time. All the things that you hear us say, knees, back, hip pain, all that stuff, they can help you alleviate that. Go see Douglas and the boys at the Good Feet Store. Quick Timeout. More of this show coming up.
Denise has been playing jazz.
All right, I hadn't heard what Greg said, but here's something somebody posted on Twitter. I think Shank, who we had on our show recently, I think he thought that Greg was taking a shot at him. So let's hear what this says. I don't know if this is a piece of somebody else, but here we go.
And I'm a little bit tired of this narrative that I don't like my school. I just kind of want to address it. I'm really fed up with it. I really am. All these clowns, the Barstool Bamas, the Crux Oxenweilers or whatever, the Alphonse Taylors, Shank, who I don't even remember playing at Alabama. I just remember him being described as the laziest dude on the roster. That's what I remember. That is trying to remain relevant, which is perfectly fine. I don't care.
Wow.
He uses Bama. I don't. So that's perfectly okay.
Whoa.
And I'm
whoa. All right, hold on. I need some backstory because all right, that was I'm just confused. So because we had all right, let's go back a few days. All right, so we had Shank on our show after he had the tweet talking about the transfer portal. Maybe I can go back and find exactly what the tweet was, but basically, was basically just talking about guys transferring, and how they were so close to winning the national championship. Why wouldn't you try to run it back again? Nothing wrong with the tweet. We had him on our show. My dad even talked about, we did the scenario where you take the money or leave. It's all that good stuff. I don't remember him saying anything about Greg McElroy. Do you guys know? Chat, do you guys know where that stemmed from? Why he brought up Shank? Does anybody know? I'm confused because he went at Big Shank pretty serious right there, guys. I feel his pain though at times, even though I've never had this before about people. Actually, no, I don't feel his pain because nobody says I don't appreciate my school. But with my dad being, it was about Proctor transferring. Okay, from Twitter. Let me see if I can find it. But no, with my dad being a little critical of who he thought should have been hired, I've had people saying stuff relate me, even though those aren't my words. So it is frustrating, but you just gotta let people talk, man.
Christian Villanova Haynes, I was teasing Greg McElroy, former Alabama quarterback, national championship quarterback. Now works for ESPN, has a radio show as well in the Birmingham area. Well, this is not the one part I want to talk about, but he's a little upset. And kind of where I was and how people try to come at me sometimes by giving your opinion. Here's what Greg had to say about some of the Bama haters.
And I'm a little bit tired of this narrative that I don't like my school. I just kind of want to address it. I'm really fed up with it. I really am. All these clowns, the Barstool Bamas, the Crux Oxenweilers or whatever, the Alphonse Taylors, Shank, who I don't even remember playing at Alabama. I just remember him being described as the laziest dude on the roster. That's what I remember. That is trying to remain relevant, which is perfectly fine. I don't care. He uses Bama. I don't. So that's perfectly okay.
There it is, Greg McElroy. I mean, Shank, we just had him on the show.
Yeah, no, and I was just talking about that with the YouTube chat during the break because I hadn't heard it. Then I played it during the break, and man, look, as Bama alumni, B-Sci-Fi, I don't like the Bama on Bama crime, man. I'm not a fan of it. And I was trying to ask because I wasn't sure what Shank had said that offended Greg or that brought him up. Because remember, we had Shank on the show. He had the tweet talking about transferring that good stuff, just saying.
Well, that's what it was about.
Okay, but how does that merit
Caden Proctor?
Okay, but how does it merit taking a shot like that? I mean, that was
because
that
Greg
was,
said what I said. Greg said what I said about Caden Proctor.
Right.
I didn't see no tampering. A lot of fans kept talking about he was tampering when he said, we talked about this yesterday. Coach was saying, keep your head up. I said, no, it's not tampering. And they were like, yeah, but he talked to him during the season, this and that. And we know the relationships that when you get recruited, that a lot of those don't break. I mean, those guys still have conversations. This is not the first time. And I said kind of the same thing that Greg has said, but Shank, I guess, called him out about what he said about that whole deal. And so he made it personal, no doubt. I think that's wrong.
That was way too far, man. I mean,
calling him what he's heard. Oh, he's the laziest person on the team, and all that good stuff.
But that's why I was saying. Did Shank say something personal towards him? Like, there's nothing wrong with disagreeing. This is my thing, man. And I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I think right now, a lot of everybody, really, a lot of people are it's a sensitive time. I don't know if it's because Coach Saban retired. There's a lot of people with a lot of opinions right now, but I think we have to go back to remembering everybody is entitled to an opinion. There's a lot of opinions that people have that I don't agree with one bit, but I'm not going to disrespect you or, offend, you know what I mean? Even if it comes off a certain way, you're entitled to that, right? I don't believe in, getting so personal with stuff, but when he made the point about people saying they don't, it's almost like how people on social media were getting at you because you were offering your opinion. Look, I mean, and I will say sometimes your delivery or tonality might sound a certain way, but I know you. They might not necessarily know you like I do. Your job is to offer your job. Right. No, I know that. And I'm just saying your job is to offer your take, your opinion. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Right. And that's fine. And you're accountable. You'll own up to it. It's no big deal. But we also know that you've had a lot of opinions this past season since we've been doing the show, doing the podcast. Right. We were some of the first people to say Jalen Miller is your guy. You were, very vocal about it's not the right move, the USF move. A lot of people said, oh, we're not going to be able to win with you said a lot of those things. And you also were pretty spot on. So I think people just have to respect an opinion of somebody that's also played the game at as high a level as you did for as long as you did. But again, the whole thing boils back to everybody's entitled.
KJ says it don't matter.
he's on the line too, so we'll get to hear from him again. Yeah, but no, look, I think we just got to respect one another, man. And I wasn't aware of Shank saying anything towards him that was too disrespectful. If you disagree with him, you disagree with him. But I don't know, man. I think Greg was just a little frustrated because he does probably face a lot of criticism for his takes. But again, I think people got to remember, if you don't agree with it, cool. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't like all the disrespect, man. But
that's what I've been saying with this stuff, right? Because when I said I've been in this position, I've been doing this 25 plus years, right? I'm saying that because I understand local media, right? And then now you got all of these websites that everybody got their own, Slide Bama, Barstool Bama.
But again, let's not do that.
I mean, I'm just saying we got all of these different.
I know what you're saying, but let's not make names because
that is going to be different. That's going to be different than what Greg McElroy is. Greg McElroy has validity, right? He is, whether you like him or not, he's a national championship winning quarterback. Greg McElroy works for the national media, the four-letter network, Disney.
Right.
He has credibility, like him or not.
I agree.
So he has to be open and honest, even on this radio show. They're not driven by Bama. That's why he said, Bama don't speak for me. I don't use the Bama for what I do, right? Because he talks more than just Alabama. So when you're a player and when you have a strong opinion or you're just being honest, then the people which now have sites and cell phones, you become an easy target. Like me, I've been an easy target even on this extra to a lot of people because they don't like what I said. Now, they love when I was driving the choo-choo train for Jalen Miller when nobody else was. You and I've been at the practice. You took me out there a couple of times. I'm saying things, what I saw. I said stuff during the course of the year. I was hard on Nick Saban. I didn't back down. I mean, because Bama don't pay no bill for me. I'm sorry. So my job is to use my experience and expertise. Same thing with Greg McElroy. I don't like. And you've heard me come on in.
Yeah, you.
How many times?
You're pretty.
How many times
you're
you
very
heard me get
critical
on
of
Greg
his stuff.
McElroy?
A lot, yeah.
Right, but I don't mind people getting on me or don't. You don't have to make it personal.
Right. Well,
So
I think that's where I get. That's where I draw a line too. Because
I'm just saying that people get mad at Greg because he said, which I totally agree, it wasn't tampering. And I know what he was saying about relationships because I said the same thing.
Right.
That's
And that's, go ahead.
People in our world that are in it and have done it probably think a little bit different than the common fan out there, right? That because somebody says something on a freaking message board don't mean it's fact.
Right.
Right? Because this is what happens. I mean, so, and then we'll talk to KJ in a minute, but that's why we laugh because, like, KJ, we love you, we respect you, but, that was way out of line, bro. I mean, you can't be serious. I mean, so my thing is, but that doesn't mean that we're right either all the time.
100%.
So, but here's the reality. I brought Greg McElroy up not just because his point, Christian, but because what he tweeted that he has had a conversation with Kalen DeBoer and Greg Byrne, how he can help Alabama. He says his wife's a fan of Alabama. He's a fan of Alabama. They support Alabama. Right? And we know he's a fan. We know he pulls, but I will give him credit. He does a really nice job of not being fanboy on ESPN. Whereas
But you got to respect that.
Yeah, which we've seen guys like David Pollack, who's fired now, became a fanboy with Nick Saban up there. We've seen guys that have played at school. We get it. We get, Desmond, you pull for, Michigan. But you don't have to be a fanboy with it. That's all I'm saying. I understand the local side of it. I understand that people here, even on our channel, you went to school there. People hear that whole show. Martin Houston played football there. Right, they're going to be fans. That's understandable.
Right.
Now, do I think you have to still show some restraint and not just being overly positive just because you want to make the fans feel positive? Because I think, some hosts get in trouble, but that's who they are. They're gonna air all the way on optimism, and they're gonna bring people that support what they want to say to jack fans up. But I understand that more because they are fans who started doing radio or TV or whatever, or website. They're fans. So their opinion is going to be different than what Greg should be for a national audience. So you're right. There should be a level of respect. Right? That's why I was telling you, if one, when I had a meeting with Bob Papa and those heavy hitters when I worked for MSG and Fox 5 in New York, and I was in the thing when I finished my football and I went in that meeting, the guy looks at me and says, hey, I'm just going to tell you, if you ever want to make it big in this business and national media, like I couldn't be afraid to call out Jason Seon. I couldn't be afraid to call out Michael Strahan. I couldn't be afraid to call out Jesse Armstead. Guys that blood, sweat, and tears together, right?
Right.
But if you covering the games or you got a show doing a 30-minute show, Marv Alford is not the guy that worked,
Right. And that makes perfect sense. And we understand that.
Right.
I think the biggest thing though is just about how you do it. There's nothing wrong with having your opinion or having your take. It's just about doing it with respect, even if you're disagreeing. And I think that's all it boils down to. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion. Just have that opinion that's respectful. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, just like I had to say that yesterday when I had people on Twitter, they were taking your opinion.
They got at you yesterday.
Even though if you go back from the get-go, I've been very positive about this whole situation. I've just said just some of my honest takes, but I also was very supportive. And any time that you kind of started getting a little critical, I reeled you back in. I was very defensive. People were just kind of lumping me in that, and that's fine. But I can understand how, as Greg was saying, like people tell you don't like the school. That's crazy. Like I hate to break it to some people listening, but we as players have skin in the game. Do you know how much we put on the line for this program? To think that we wouldn't support this program is ludicrous. I've had torn biceps, torn hamstrings, 2 groin surgeries, countless ankles, shoulder injuries, all type of stuff that people couldn't even fathom. Right? It'd be just ridiculous to say this. I understand that aspect too, but like I said, I think it all boils down to just treating people with respect and respecting everybody's opinion. Because again, that's something that's lost nowadays, man. Everybody gets offended when somebody's opinion differs. It's not just sports, politics is anything. And I wish we could just go back to just being respectful of everybody that has a varying opinion, because that's their opinion is just
That's the world we live in now. You can't.
I
be
know.
different.
You can't step on people's toes with anything. Then you're wrong. You're
then you become a they or those people.
Right.
Hey, which is ridiculous. I mean, if you don't have R, if you don't have D or I beside you,
right.
Like we said, just respecting people for who they are and what they believe. It's just that's the world we live in, and unfortunately, it's filtering into sports. You don't say what they want to hear, that, and then you don't love it. You're not a fan, and that's ridiculous. I hit time out. I hope we can pull what Kalen DeBoer, who's on the Pat McAfee show. I don't know if he'll be doing it every week like Nick was, but that's pretty cool.
No. I think this was just kind of an introductory thing.
Daggone, because that'd be asking real questions.
No. Listen, I want him focused on this job, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to. Pat McAfee show is cool and all, but I think honestly they'll have him open to the media a lot more here. He seems like a very.
He's going to be better for the media. One thing I said about Nick the whole time, I could not stand that Nick press conference was going. Here's 7 questions, and then he out. Right? The reporters are beat guys, and they don't ever get a chance to ask the man. They won't ask him any questions because they were scared to ask him tough questions. Let's be honest. Think about it. They were scared to ask him real questions because they asked him a tough question. Steve Spurrier did the exact same freaking thing here as Nick Saban. When Ron Morris, who wrote for the state newspaper of South Carolina, was asking him questions or seemed to be even challenging him, they kicked him out of the press room and told the state that they would couldn't cover the team no more. And that's kind of what Nick was doing. Because Belichick that's the whole kind of. So I think with Kalen DeBoer, they're going to like him a lot better because I think he'll be willing to. He can answer questions. He's not mad at the coordinators answer questions. And I think the media is going to like that a little bit more. When we come back, we'll get into more of this conversation. My phone is blowing up. Somebody hit me on my hip.
Yeah, let's get a break so you can take care of that. You're listening to the Miller's Edge right here on Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC, and over on YouTube on our channel at the Miller's Edge. We'll be right back after a quick timeout.
Meet Cheryl.
Yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie, man. I don't know about that one. I'm not with making things personal like that. Yeah, Sam said Greg had no reason to make it personal, calling out Shank like that. You've heard everything Shank said, and that was directed towards him. That's why I was kind of confused because I hadn't heard anything. And I know Shank went on a podcast. It was a long podcast, so I hadn't heard anything. But I mean, everything I heard, we might have just been disagreeing about a tampering thing, which again, I should have brought that back up. I get what my dad's saying. As former players, as people that have been in it, I do understand that there are those relationships, like when you're getting recruited, right? At the same time, though, when I was here, as close as I was with members of Georgia staff or even Florida staff, they weren't necessarily contacting me. And I just think there's a fine line between it. I gave the example. It's like the guy friend that's grooming the girl that just went through a breakup. Oh, it's okay. Things are going to be fine. And he's just trying to, slide in for his opportunity, right? Seems it all stemmed from a tweet that said he's convinced Greg hates Bama. Not sure how Shank got lumped into it. Okay, yeah, see, and I could see why Greg would be frustrated just because somebody like me, I'm y'all hear me, I'm so defensive, but because my dad had his takes, people started saying I was hating. But come on, man. All right, here we go.
Edge. We are hanging out here on a Wednesday, 1:36 Eastern Time, 12:36 the time in Titletown, here in Tuscaloosa. Corey Miller, Christian Miller, and Noah Haynes behind the glass. I want to toss a couple of bites that we've been able to get a hold of to hear what our football coach, Kalen DeBoer, had to say about this football team. He's been running. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's gotten the staff pretty much together. I think one more spot maybe still to be filled.
I don't know if you saw this. This is new, though, but I think he named Freddie Roach associate head coach. Excuse me.
That meaning he gonna be able to get a little bit more money.
Oh yeah. Well, you know Freddie had leverage in this situation. They needed Freddie, right?
They needed Freddie.
Yeah.
So he's got the
assistant head coach. I'm sorry, assistant head coach, defensive line coach. But that's huge for him. And
that just means maybe they can give him a contractual wise extra year more money.
Oh, they're definitely giving him more money, and he's invaluable right now because they need him. Again, you look at the recruiting trails right now. He's been on the forefront of it, and rightfully so. Plus, he's a heck of a football coach, and he's a guy with Alabama ties, and I think that's awesome for him. I love Freddie, man, good dude, and
Freddie,
right
good people,
right
and that was besides T-Rob, I thought that was the next most important key for Kalen DeBoer, a guy that played at Alabama, understands the fabric of Alabama, and the familiarity means a lot to recruits and things like that. So good for him. So congratulations to Freddie Roach on the new title, defensive line coach and assistant head coach for him. Robert Gillespie, the running backs coach, is still here. Jamie Mosley, Chap, and Denzel, all of those guys that we know very well and great friends with have been doing more than what their job titles suggest. Right? They've been on the recruiting trail. So Kalen DeBoer is trying to get things done. I mean, the reason why those guys are on the recruiting trail because those recruits know who they are. And that's an excellent decision for him to do that. As I mentioned, Kalen DeBoer was on Pat McAfee's show, and I don't know where you stand, whether this team is rebuilding or reloading. I don't know what side of the fence that you're on when you have that conversation about this football team, especially after they've lost really some key players to this team and some recruits leaving and things like that, the exodus that we've seen. But here's what the coach had to say, though, what the Alabama Crimson Tide roster looks like. Or is it rebuilding or is it reloading?
The way you have to view things, because if there is something that happens that goes astray, they're going to say, well, Saban would have done this. Saban would have, you're going to have to hear that regardless, though, if you want to be the top coach in college football. So is that your view on it all? Is that kind of the thought, or how do you expect to keep this noise out?
Yeah, I think you just got to be convicted in who you are as a person. You got to believe that, your experiences and, how we do things is going to work and can work anywhere. And I believe that. We'll build a great staff that I know will have great perspective and be able to handle, those things that people throw our ways and trying to bring doubt, that can't be sustained. But you just got to be convicted in who you are. And, I've had success at a lot of places and I feel it can carry over. A lot of times it's just about simply building around people and the relationships and the X's and O's and things like that. Football is football. And I'm getting to know this part of the country very quickly. Not completely and not familiar with it, but got some people around me that certainly are. And so we're hitting the ground running. I'm excited about it, building all these relationships and, making this next season, not waiting around, not rebuilding, but reloading.
There you go. At the end, he answered that question. They are reloading and hitting the ground running. One key thing that he did say, Christian, was that, one, I got to have the right people around.
Yeah.
Which means he knows he's not equipped. When I was saying about recruiting, he's not equipped to recruit. Because that's what I was saying earlier in the first segment of the show. Most of you had no idea who Kalen DeBoer was until he came on to the scene. Would you have known he won the Pac-12 last year? Was coach of the year? You probably could care less. But when he came on the scene in the college football playoffs, they started talking about it. Then you began to familiarize yourself with Kalen DeBoer. So you got to put the right people around him, Christian, to get that familiarity going. And that's why we just talked about with Freddie Roach being, upgraded as the assistant head coach and probably get a nice little pay raise. So there you go. That's what he told Pat McAfee about where he's at. So.
Yeah, and I think that, again, makes perfect sense. And then that's one thing we talked about. And again, he's a smart guy. I mean, you don't win that many football games not being smart, right? He's well aware that it's not just about him. It's about the support, whether that's on-field coaches, off-field assistants, right? And even the players. I love how he kept mentioning the players as a nucleus. And he knows that, that they're going to be the integral piece that really makes this thing work. And I'm excited. The more you look into it, man, again, and the more you get to hear from them, and more people I talk to, people are very optimistic. And I love how somebody actually, one of the co-hosts on the show, had asked him about retaining some off-field people, right? Because they're saying, like, obviously in the NFL, the way it works is, the athletic trainers stay, the nutritionists stay, everybody stays. Just like when Frank Reich was hired by the Panthers, majority of the same people that were still there, they all stay. They don't go anywhere. In the NFL, they all stay. So he was asking, what is the thought process there? And basically, Pat McAfee said, well, if they're good enough for Coach Saban, I think you'd be a fool not to think they're, at least give them a chance and think they're good enough to work for you. Pat McAfee said that, and that's what I was saying in terms of when I was talking about Amy Bragg and those people. I think it's a no-brainer to keep as many of those people as possible. Because, again, those people understand the foundation of Alabama and what makes this place special and successful. And it looks like he's doing a nice job retaining a good bit of people, at least, Coach Ballou, Jeff Allen, who I think was, a non-negotiable, right? And then, obviously, the off-field guys like Denzel Duvall, Josh Chapman, Clinton Dix, all those guys, man, are going to be key pieces as well. So, definitely, I think we're in the right direction. I think they've hit the ground running. We're seeing more coaches officially come out with their titles. Coach Hitchler, I think that's how you say his last name, co-defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach. So now they're on the road. These guys are making themselves familiar with the South. They joked around about him getting used to the South, and Pat brought up a good point too about the heat, man. And I just thought about, I'm like, these coaches, man, that are coming from the West Coast that haven't necessarily been down here, they better be prepared, because this Alabama heat during fall camp, boy, it's different. I've seen our coaches have to get IVs. Our coaches, obviously players, have cramped up IVs. You said soft.
Yeah, coaches.
Listen, brother, hey, yeah, I'm not going to say which coach it was, but I've seen coaches that had to get carried off the field and get IVs. So that's one piece of advice I would give Coach DeBoer and some of the other guys coming from the West Coast. Make sure you hydrate.
They don't make them like they used to.
Hey, Coach Saban is different, man. He is tough, man, but Coach Saban, he's going to talk that talk, though. Coach Saban always giving people a hard time. He always, if you were hurt, man, you literally could have a broken leg, and he would be like, oh, my blank hurts, and just laugh. I'm like, this dude is different.
For the record, I'm having a hard time not having coach there. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm old school, like coaches old school. It's gonna take me a little bit to get used to it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not saying he's not a nice guy. I think he really is. I think he knows football. I will have pushback what he said. Football is football wherever you go. No, it's not. That's not true. But I do like him. I think he could win. I just don't know how of a clip he could win. So we just go and wait and see. All right, we got people on hold. KJ, Radiant T-Town, stay right there. I'm doing phones next. 205-342-9904. Don't forget, free download time 100.9 on your cell phone, your smartphone, your iPad, your computer. Do that all free. Leave your comments, thoughts, questions right there. My man Noah will read them live on the air. And for you on YouTube Extra on the Miller's Edge, we see you too. A lot of great comments on here. No doubt, man. I love watching these comments, man. There'd be some great stuff there. Quick time out. Your phone calls on the flip side. This is The Edge. We're on the Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Back in a moment.
All right, hold on one second. Let me look at something. Something. All right, what do we have? Let's see. Appreciate everybody joining us right now. If you haven't already, make sure you like that video. Give us that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Again, we are live weekdays, Monday through Friday, 12 to 2. You can always check us out here. You can download the app and listen to us if you're on the road, can't pull up YouTube. We also do lives in the evening sometimes too. We've gone away from that, but we definitely like to do that. And we do a post-game show once the season kicks off. So make sure you guys stay tuned and you subscribe. That way you don't miss anything. Let's see. Yeah, what do you guys thought? Would you say reloading or rebuilding? I'm with Sam. I'm kind of down the middle. I think it kind of is reloading. Given, you got quarterback that's a favorite in the Heisman race. Some key pieces coming back. Tight ends are coming back. You lose Black, but still. What I'm getting at is you got a lot of guys returning. The only thing really, though, is the secondary. You're going to have a lot of youth in that secondary, other than Malachi Moore, Devontae Smith, your safety positions, but then the cornerbacks, you're probably going to have some youth. You're going to probably have to get some true freshmen playing, which is fine. Just you got to expect some growing pains. But I would say, honestly, it's a little bit of both. But also I call it rebuilding because, it's just totally different, right? This is how do you explain this? It's a whole different staff. It's a whole different, So I kind of would say it's like split down the middle. It's not a complete rebuild by any means. But I would say it's a little bit more extensive than reloading, in my opinion. And we'll do this too. We'll break down the depth chart again, kind of go through it, kind of preview it. But when you actually look at it, when you get away from just looking at the names that have entered the portal, you got to get excited just seeing who you still have on this roster. And again, the spring window is going to open up. And a lot of people are talking about Michigan. They might be in the same boat as us. I hate to wish that on other people, but we also know Courtney Morton came from Michigan. You don't think those guys are going to get extended some offers?
Wednesday, Corey Miller, Christian Miller, Noah Haynes behind the glass in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Having a good time. We got a lot to get into the program. Don't forget 205-342-9904 is the number for the show if you'd like to comment or call in or download that free app, Tide 100.9, and we'll take your thoughts, comments, questions right there. Don't forget at 1:30 Central Time, Chris Stewart, play-by-play guy in football. He does it all. I think he does basketball. He can do baseball. He can do it all. He's just well-talented. Chris Stewart will join us to talk about a big matchup tonight there at Coleman Coliseum as Auburn comes into Alabama and try to do what they can do with the Crimson Tide. So we'll get his thoughts, comments there. Plus, get his comments on new head football coach Kalen DeBoer. To the phone lines we go. Let's go to Atlanta. KJ, you're first here on the program. Welcome in.
How's it going, guys?
What's up, bro?
Doing all right. Corey, what you said about
first of all, did you have a change of mind about you wanting to take Kool-Aid McKinstry's position backpedaling as a fan?
See, now you getting personal. We talked about Greg Maxwell being personal.
There you go. Personal. I'm just asking a question.
Now we getting personal. See there? A difference of opinion is we getting personal. I'm talking about my background.
We thought it was funny, KJ. Now, I'm just asking
it's cool.
Was it you like being funny or were you like serious? I'm being honest.
No, honestly, this has been a conversation that I've had for the longest. Because you guys got to realize I've been a fan and I've been around, athletes, right? So it's like I take the fan side most of the time.
What do they say? What do they say?
They agree with you. They agree with you guys, of course. But that's what I said. This has been a conversation my whole life. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with this one. But I wanted
your own skin, bro.
100%. But I wanted to bring up, I think it's very, because like you were saying, Christian, about it feels like you got to be on either one side or you got to say that this guy's going to be the next Nick Saban or he's going to be Trent. It's okay to wait to see whatever happens. It's okay to, and then it's okay to judge it while it goes. It's okay to say, okay, he made a mistake there. Let's see what he's going to do. And that's not saying that the guy's a terrible person. I'm okay to criticize moments of where he's at in the process. Right. I'm not going to agree with everything that he does, right? Some of the, for me personally, as of right now, he's had more pluses than minuses because I thought he's known these coaches for his whole life, right? And I knew for a fact, I was like, all right, he's going to bring the DC with him. If he brings his DC with him, I'm going to go crazy. He did not bring the DC. He known that DC for 20-something his whole life. Yep. Think about how hard that is to tell your friend, obviously.
That's a tough decision, but the smart decision.
Right, exactly, right? So I got that. He's taking the emotions out of it, making the best decisions in order to win. So I mean, I think we got to drop back from the edge.
Feel
Everybody.
good about Womack?
Do I feel good about? I'm taking a wait and see approach. I don't know, and it's okay not to know.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that's
yeah, I agree with that. I don't know either.
I think
know
it's
enough
okay.
about Womack.
Yeah, and I only know what, again, I've been talking to people about and then watching South Alabama, because, again, I haven't watched South Alabama until we hired him, but I've been watching the past 2 days. You can ask my dad. I'll be on the phone with him, and I'm breaking it down. Yep. I'm looking at their philosophies. Again, one thing you'll get out of me, I'm never just going – you're not going to hear me just spewing out what everybody else says just because of what I read, right? Like, I actually like watching tape and offer my opinion. And when I watch them, it's not that I don't like the defense. It's just it's not – personally, what I feel is the best type of defense to defend a lot of things in college football nowadays. With that being said, I'm not writing it off because this guy's a smart dude. He wouldn't have gotten where he's gotten without being smart and having to adapt. I think he'll probably, alter some things a little bit because I just know going from that conference there to going and playing the Georgias, and you got to play Oklahoma, all these different things. I mean, you're gonna have to probably implement some new things, and I'm sure he will adapt. And that's why I'm with you. I'm just offering my fair take on it, but then I'm also waiting and seeing because I got faith. Plus, you've got some other, heads on that coaching staff with experience. They're going to have some input, right? And I think everything hopefully will come together. But I definitely think it's going to look a lot different than what we've seen with coaches.
You know what it reminds me of? What it reminds me of, Christian? I don't know if you remember this, but when Najee Harris was a recruit, and I've been big on recruiting, so I would show this to my homeboy, like, hey, what do you think about him? Well, he's at Alabama. What do you think about him?
Right.
He's from Cali, man. They, I don't be Cali people. I'm like, what do you think about him though? Because he's a Southern. He's like, nah, I don't know. And then when he got there, I'm like, okay, like he's been practicing. Like, how is he? He's like, he bounces everything, got to the outside. I told you he's from Cali, man. I'm like, yo, he didn't even give the guy a chance. Like,
yeah.
Like you're not even giving him and that's how it is. Like you're from the West, you already get breed that stigma of being soft, and it just we have prejudice.
Well, you get labeled.
Man.
I mean, you're gonna get labeled based on where you're from sometimes, unfortunately, right?
And that's up to him, and that it reminds me of that. So he just got to prove everybody wrong. And
let me just say
well,
this.
he keeps talking about.
Do you think Alabama has? Yeah, do you think Alabama has one of the best staffs? Like I listened to Ryan Fowler's show a little bit yesterday, and I heard this guy that almost made me run off the road. And he said that Alabama.
You got to start listening to the media, man. That gets you. That Brian Kirk is the media.
He said Alabama has the #1 coaching staff in the country. With Kalen DeBoer.
That's his opinion.
Yeah, that's subjective.
Yeah, who knows? I like Kirby's staff. To me, I think Kirby's staff he got some elite recruiters over there.
Right. That's why I just said I almost ran off the road because I totally disagree with him. But I don't believe what he said. But I'm saying, but you can have people and they can say stuff like that for the typical fan base that goes, well, whoever, I don't even know the dude's name, never heard of him. But it's like, that person can say.
But you also can have Clay. You also can have Clay Travis who can say that he can look into the future and say this guy's going to be going in 4 years. Like it's split side. Like both are media pulls and clickbait. We don't know what this guy could do.
Fair, that's true.
Yeah, I can't say that. I mean, I said he could win 3 national championships. Who knows?
That's what I'm saying. I think that we should all take a step back from the edge and just wait and see. It's okay to judge. You're not going to like every decision, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And say, all right, I didn't really like this one. Yeah, I didn't like this one. He could have went this way. Let's see what happens, though.
Yeah, 100%.
It's okay. Like they had prejudice on, like you said, everyone was not with you on the Jalen Barrow situation. People hated that you said that too.
They hated
and you were right about that.
Right. That's why I brought it back up, KJ, because I was like, I wish they'd have that same energy now, just because, again, he's not hating. He's just offering his take because, again, he's neutral in this whole thing because that's how he was trained to do media. And that's why he gets frustrated hearing. And because I agree, right? I mean, because you do have people that, I mean, like they just pump up things that they want to be true, but they're not necessarily actually watching tape or going and diving deep into things. But that's why I respect people that do have their honest take.
I would say this, guys, about the whole, when I said NAIA. The reason why I said that, because I worked at NAIA, right? I understand that taking a dude that's been there, and I know we had the lower level NAIA, Allen University in Columbia, South Carolina, an HBCU, all-black school, right? And we couldn't even, at one point, didn't have the funds to even find the fields to practice on. So I feel that we had holes all in. And I was concerned for the athletes for blowing our ankles or knees. I mean, it was bad.
Right.
But Teddy Keaton, who's from Alabama, who now is in Atlanta, he got a new job. Drawing a blank the name at I forget the name of the school, but he turned the program around. So I understand the work ethic and what goes in that. So people jump in and say they ain't never been at no NAI school. NAIA know what it means. I do. I've been there. I was a chaplain and helped coach some. So my point
But I think they bring that up just to show that he's a winner. Because at this, even though he's there, he's playing against.
But don't tell me it's not the same. I'm just trying to tell you. It's kind of like Skeezer, right? You're going to tell me that Skeezer, which is a school.
I don't know if they know what Skeezer is. It's our private school league back in South Carolina.
Right.
High school private league.
Like we got a kid coming from Baylor, right, in Chattanooga. It was their coach, Eric Henry, coached at Hammond here in South Carolina, won 10 state titles, right? That league, right? And I know because I coached in that league that if you got 2 or 3 players, you ain't got to be that great of a coach.
You can run the table.
Absolutely.
I'm saying you don't have to be that great of a coach to win championship because you're not going to have the same competition. I'm saying NAIA football isn't on that level. I compare them the same. You can have 5 to 10 decent athletes with and running very simplistic schemes, or if you know a little bit more, you can have that kind of record. That's all I was saying.
Right. But yeah, I give the man an A, man. Honestly, A minus. For what he did. I know, but this is my grade. I give him an A minus.
KJ can give him an A. You can give him whatever. I mean, that's
I mean, today, if he lands Ryan Williams today, I think everyone's gonna. I mean, that's gonna go even through the roof with that too. So,
if he gets Ryan Williams, I give him an A++.
Okay, well, you should be looking for that notification.
Hold on, but let me ask him this though. But the only thing I'll say about that is, we got to remember Ryan Williams was committed to Alabama, and he's an Alabama guy. I definitely think if
Nick already got
no. So what? No, and again, I promise I'm not taking anything away from him. But I did see some tweets where people were like, "Man, that shows he's one of the top recruiters already." And I'm like, well, I don't know if I'd count that one just yet.
No, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say. Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
Just because this guy was a former commit a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. But it's not.
But it still is a huge get for him. Huge get for him.
Because Hugh Freeze is offering everything too as well, right?
Exactly.
So it shows that he can. Like, I like what they did too, how they had everything set up for him with the Hollywood sign in the back. I kind of like that. And I'm not saying that he did. That probably was Ashley and Kerrigan.
I mean, is this what we're doing now? Is this what we got? This is football. We got to put a daggum Hollywood sign in the background.
Unfortunately, yes.
No dude like that. I don't think if I do that.
I don't know. This dude.
No, I can take some.
You won't be coaching long. You won't be coaching long.
Yes, I would, because I tell you this: I had some dudes that love the game. I had some dudes that care about playing freaking football, and I can tell you this: you can take some of this flashy talent and
that's his preacher voice now.
There it is,
and become individual and want to be about them. Give me some Hunter Renfrows. Give me some dudes like that still love the game and will work their freaking A off, right?
All right, I'll
put
take
them
that.
in a place to play football. You can win. I'm just saying. I don't want them prima donnas.
All right, man.
All right, hey, look, I do agree, but you do have to have. You do always say you got to have Jimmy and Jones too, but you're right. You're right.
KJ,
give me the Puka Nukuas.
I mean, but that could have been Ashley and Kerrigan, the recruiting people. We're making them feel at home. Do whatever we need to do. Let's go. We need that talent.
Just give them some money. Don't tell nobody, and just go.
So they can tell. We're in the era. We can tell them now. Let's tell them how much we get.
That's you're right. All right, KJ, man.
Appreciate you, KJ.
I love you, man. I appreciate you.
Y'all take care. Love y'all too, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, brother.
Bro. I like that. I like to have some fun, but listen, I don't want no prima donnas.
But I'm gonna say, man, I'm not gonna lie. I might put up with one if he's really like that.
If he doing that, need the Hollywood signs, and he better be giving me 8, 9, 10 for about $120 and 2 touchdowns every week. If you ain't doing that, oh no, you're not gonna have it. That's all I'm saying. You want to be prima donna, but tell me this right here: you better be giving me 8 to 10 catches a week and breaking ankles. Because if you're not, we're going to have a conversation. Top of the hour break. When we come back, Chris Stewart at the bottom of the hour, 1:30. We'll talk with him about the big matchup, Auburn, Alabama, tonight at Coleman Coliseum. We got that coming up. If you're on hold, we see you. Stay right there. We'll take more phone calls. We got a little bit more audio from Kalen DeBoer with Pat McAfee. We got that coming up for you. And we're going to rush around the SEC and talk about South Carolina. All right, there we go. These Gamecocks, big win over Kentucky. That's coming up on the Miller's Edge. Back in a moment.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monsi Bolaños.
In the NBA, according to multiple reports, Doc Rivers is finalizing an agreement to become the next head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. USA Basketball Executive Director Grant Hill said two-time gold medalist Draymond Green was left out of the player pool for this summer's Paris Olympics because of his suspensions with the Golden State Warriors this season. In the NFL, Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says running back Isaiah Pacheco won't practice today because of a toe injury, but is getting better. And Pro Bowl guard Joe Thuney won't practice today because of a pec strain. Bleacher Report is saying that Jim Harbaugh is currently scheduled to interview today with the Falcons for a second time. Atlanta is also bringing in Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick for an in-person second interview as well. And the Packers have parted ways with defensive coordinator Joe Barry.
Barry Buckner here for Tuscaloosa Hyundai. And first up, a flashback. In 2021, I was both excited and amazed with the award-winning Elantra redesign. Today, the 2023 Elantra remodel is recognized for the best value balance of price and features. I'm talking about both Elantra and Elantra Hybrid. KBB.com recognizes Elantra as the lowest 5-year cost to own in its class. Elantra wins awards for innovative technology and 5-star safety rating. Elantra delivers up to 42 miles per gallon for gas and up to 56 miles per gallon for Elantra.
I'm still trying to get over the whole Greg McElroy thing, man. That was a lot. This might not have been said before, but I think this might have been said before, but I think the coaching staff thing is that it's the highest rated staff by analytics. Not necessarily that it's great. Could be great or a flop. But see, that's the thing, culture, about analytics, man. I'll be honest with you. Analytics, man, they only tell part of the story. And I think sometimes people become too reliant on analytics. I mean, in Carolina, I'll be honest, we had a coach that relied on analytics for virtually everything and did not bode well. So at some point you just got to really take what you're seeing, man. But I'm just saying, even like game type situations, a lot of the time people make so many decisions based off analytics instead of just taking what's in front of them. On offense, Bama has a much better coaching staff than what they had in recent memory. It isn't even close. This year, I definitely think the staff would be better. But, I mean, I was on the staff in 2015 that I think was arguably the greatest coaching staff of all time. So I kind of have high expectations.
Hope you're doing well here on a hump day. Corey Miller, Christian Miller, and Noah Haynes behind the glass. They are hanging out there in Tuscaloosa. Look like the rain's coming down in T-Town. Well, it's raining outside as well, although it is 70 degrees outside. I got on shorts today. I feel good about that. 205-342-9904 is the number for the program if you would like to call in. And don't forget to download that free app on your smartphone, Android, or Apple device. Tide 100.9. Leave your thoughts, comments, questions are right there. Coming up at 1:30 here in, let's see, about 24 minutes. Chris Stewart will join us here to talk about the big matchup tonight, Alabama and Auburn. Do they have a name, Christian, for the basketball?
I just call it the Iron Bowl of basketball. But, I mean, I'm excited for it, though, man. I'll be honest. This always gets – I'm not gonna say chippy, but there's always a lot of energy in this game. There's always a lot of. It seems like it gets, you know what I mean. And no disrespect to Coleman.
Rivalry, yeah.
No, obviously it is. But I'm just saying, Coleman, we all know that Coleman, is Coleman, but and then they try to get a good atmosphere. But I'll tell you, this game always there's no holdbacks, right? I mean, you don't have to question if the atmosphere is going to be this atmosphere. I'm telling you, it's going to be fun tonight. So if you're in town, make sure you check out this game because it's going to be fun.
I hope that the Coleman Coliseum is packed. I mean, I can only tell you last night, if you saw on SEC Network or you watched the highlights on ESPN, you saw that arena at CLA Colonial Life Arena here in Columbia, South Carolina. South Carolina knocked off Kentucky, what that looks like. Hopefully, Alabama will be able to do some of that on tonight. Let's take some phone calls. We got several calls to get to, plus some app messages I want to get to. I want to make sure we got plenty of time for our good friend Chris Stewart. Let's go to
Brady. Tuscaloosa.
Brady in T-Town. Brady, good Wednesday.
How we doing, guys?
Well, Brady, how are you doing?
I hope you're doing well, sir.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a big fan of Kalen DeBoer. He speaks very well, and he has some very Saban-like tendencies with how he talks. And I think he really understands the task ahead of him.
Yeah, it sounds every time I hear him, it sounds like he's, understanding of it, and he's going to do his best to prepare himself for it. But I do like his confidence when he speaks. He seems like, he's confident in his ability to help. I'm not going to say help turn programs around because that's not this case scenario here, but, his ability to go into a program and get the most out of it, basically get it to its full potential. So I'm very optimistic about him. And I think there's definitely going to be some growing pains, whether we like it or not. It's just a fact. It's just kind of how this thing goes. I think it'd be like that with anybody. But I think the quicker he can overcome those, I think the more we'll start to see that this can definitely work out very well.
That's true. I'm only 21. I haven't been around as long as some of the other people have and seen Alabama through different eras. Really, in my memorable lifetime, the only two eras that I've known have been Nick Saban and now the DeBoer era for like 2 weeks. But looking back at history, could you say that this program's ever been better off or like in a better place than they are right now, like through a coaching change?
I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not too much older than you, and then obviously I got here in 2014, so it's hard for me to really look back. But I will say, I mean, look, if you look at it, you look at the facts. I mean, this is going to be Coach DeBoer's most talented roster he's probably ever been given. The only thing I will add on to that, though, this is going to be his greatest task yet, given that he's going to be playing in a whole different league. I mean, we talked about the NAIA level, right? Pac-12 or Fresno State, I can't remember the conference or what it is, but then Pac-12, again, he's had success everywhere. But at the same time, this is going to be another great challenge because the SEC is tough, man. And I'm just saying, from playing in it for 5 years, I know how this schedule is, right? I mean, it's a daunting task. And now you throw into the equation, you're adding teams like Texas and Oklahoma, which we go on the road to Oklahoma this upcoming season. Then I think the following week we play Auburn, right? So definitely going to be some great challenges ahead. But I think he's definitely going to do a nice job of preparing himself, his staff, and this team for these challenges. But I think they're in good shape, even though, again, you look at all the names that left. You got to remember all the names that are still here, and you got to feel good about those guys.
Brady, I got one more. Let me say this real quick, Brady. Don't let you go, but let you have your question. But, we are with you. I mean, I'm much older than you guys, but, I mean, I've been following Alabama, I would say, just Nick Saban's been there. And Nick Saban is all I have ever known when it comes to coaching as well with Alabama. And how he did things, what they were about. He talked about the standard, the tough love on the football field, the All-Americans, the Heisman winners, we've seen it all. 17 years, we as fans of the game of Alabama have seen so much, right? We don't know about the Bear. We don't know about all these other old coaches.
Well, I know about what I was told and, all the history.
We know about it, but I'm just saying we don't really know. We just go by what we read or what somebody has said. We've witnessed, as Brady has with Nick Saban, right? And you understand it. So it's hard now, as I said earlier, I don't know if you heard me, I said it's hard for me to get used to Kalen DeBoer. Because I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not when they pull up the record, that's not going to make me do cartwheels. I just know what I know. I know how hard it is to win in this conference. I know how hard it is to recruit against these other schools. I know how hard it is, just everything when it pertains to football in the Southeast. And I haven't been a big fan of the Pac-12. There's a reason why they've been left out numerous times in the college football playoffs. They don't get the love just because it's the Pac-12, and to say he could just step right in the shoes of Nick Saban, even though it's Alabama, and just say, hey, I'm here, I coach football, and I'm going to win. I'm not ready to go there. That's why I got to wait and see. I got to wait and see what spring practice looks like, and I got to wait and see in the season. And when I see it with my own eyes, the product, I can give a better evaluation.
Yes, sir. I think my last question, because I know I got a bunch of callers, for Christian, from a player's perspective, would Kalen DeBoer be a guy that you would want to play for? If you were playing for Alabama right now and you were sitting there on the fence saying, hey, should I leave? Should I stay and play for this guy? What would you do? How do you like Kalen DeBoer?
Great question. Yeah, from everything that I've seen and heard, man, he seems like a great person, right? And that would lead me to want to play for somebody. But I also looked at things, so I might as well go back to recruiting. What was so intriguing about Coach Saban was given, his track record, how respected he is within the college football world, and all those great values, right, that he upholds. And that was what was so attractive for me to wanting to come and play for him. I was just listening to O.J. Howard talk about that. Maybe we can pull that. But, from what I've heard and seen from Coach DeBoer, I think he'd be a great coach to play for. Now, I will say he comes off as, almost a 180 from Coach Saban. Coach Saban is hard-nosed. He's going to chew you out. You guys have seen videos of me getting chewed out, right? He's one of those old school type coaches. Obviously I haven't been around Coach DeBoer too much, but from what I've heard, I'm not sure if he cusses, not that really matters, but I'm just trying to give you a visual or an idea of how different they kind of vary between each other. But, and I'll be honest, I actually think that might be kind of I wouldn't say a breath of fresh air for some of these young guys, but I think that it might actually be a little more suited for this younger generation, just because we know these guys don't respond the same way. These guys are different nowadays. So I almost feel like a coach with his style might almost be a little bit better at connecting with some of these guys than that old school approach. So to answer your question, Brady, yeah, I think I would definitely enjoy playing for him. I like how he emphasizes the players. He likes building a culture. I think that's what college football is all about. I feel like that's something that we've lost with NIL in this new age. You kind of lose that brotherhood, that culture, that hey, I'm playing for the man beside me, that this is why we're doing it for each other. And that seems like something he emphasizes within his football teams. And that's something I definitely could get behind. Brady, we appreciate you calling, man.
Brother. I appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir, man. Take care.
Brady, thank you, buddy. Be well out there. Brady from Tuscaloosa. There he goes, 21 years old. Forward to see what Coach is going to be able to do. All right, quick timeout. We come back. We got more calls. We got some app messages we'll get into before we get to Chris Stewart to talk about basketball. The last segment of the show, we'll talk more about what happened on the hardwood here in the Southeastern Conference. That's coming up. This is Mills Edge on the Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. We are the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. We'll be back in a moment.
All right, let's see. Great eval, C. Miller, awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's just personally, that's kind of how I go about it. That's how I think about it. I think he does a good job establishing cultures, which is important in college football. We've seen that that's important to the guys that have stayed on this roster, the Malachi Moores, the Tyler Bookers, those guys. They buy into that, and I think that definitely will bode well for a lot of guys on the team. If you're an offensive guy, I definitely think you'd want to. I mean, he's got a very explosive offense. Him and Coach Grubb do a nice job of scheming things and opening things up for their playmakers. And they also are responsible for a Joe Moore award-winning offensive line. So overall, and leading rusher in the Pac-12. So overall, man, they do a lot of nice things on offense. So offensively, I definitely think Alabama is attractive right now with this new coaching staff. Now, defensively, again, we'll kind of have to wait and see. I can only go off of what I've seen from watching Coach Womack's scheme, but they call it a swarm D. They like to fly around I definitely think it's attractive for off-ball guys that really like to get after it, especially guys that are tweeners or that have a lot of versatility. I think this scheme will allow for some linebackers that are kind of tweener guys that might be in between. A guy like Justin Jefferson, right? I mean, he's on the lighter side, but very athletic. I think that they could maybe find a role for him in this scheme. I think it could benefit people like that. But they still utilize, the nose and tackle big guys up front and, hybrid guys, which we've been using, guys like myself, kind of like that defensive end linebacker combo. So, I think overall a lot of guys would be interested in coming to play here. Plus, we got to remember, guys, it's still Alabama. I know Coach Saban's gone. I know Coach Saban is I wouldn't say he's responsible for everything the past, 2 decades, but let's just be honest. He's, him and the success that we've had here, that was a big thing. But at the end of the day, these kids growing up, they still recognize that Alabama A. Even though Coach Saban is technically not the coach, that A still holds weight, man. Don't get that misconstrued. It's still going to hold weight. Going to be a little bit different with Coach Saban gone as we transition, but it's still going to hold weight, man. Hope we win tonight. I think they're going to shut down Sears, make everyone else beat us. Grant Nelson has got to step this game up. Yeah, I'm curious to see what Chris has to say, man. He's big with the Alabama basketball team, and he'll have a lot of good stuff. So if you guys are interested in hearing about Bama hoops, man, stay tuned for Chris Stewart, who's going to be joining us in a little under 12 minutes. Talk some Alabama basketball as well. Get his thoughts on Coach DeBoer. He kind of hosted Coach DeBoer's basically like welcoming press conference thing. And I'm sure he spent some time with him, so we'll get his thoughts there as well. With DeBoer, I'd like to see what he had in the title game, but added physicality, especially on defense. Yeah, and he's been talking a lot about physicality and how vital it is. So that's why I think, man, if we could have had like T-Rob stay and kind of implemented more of like that defense we've grown accustomed to seeing, pair that with Washington's offense, man, I think that would have been scary.
Right here on the Tide, 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. Let's get right back out to the phone lines. JD's been holding. JD, you're up next on The Edge. Welcome in.
What's up, y'all? Roll Tide.
What's up?
What's going on, JD?
Oh, nothing much, man. I just want to say, man, I want to say, the new coach, when we were, me and my dad were talking about, who we thought would replace the legendary Coach Saban. His name kind of came up, but, he's one of those that I thought maybe would stay at Washington, with everything he's done. Well, when it came on that he was coming to Alabama, I was excited. And we started losing players, and I knew that was probably going to happen. I wasn't for sure, with the transfer portal, what players we were going to lose. But, when you look at it, though, we do still have a lot of great players. A lot of people are counting us out for next season, and I understand that. We have a lot of players leaving. We do have a lot of players staying. But here's the cool part. We have the number one center in the transfer portal. We have Bernard, the wide receiver from Washington. And then we got some really good defensive players coming from Texas A&M that, in my opinion, who made some trouble for us when we played Texas A&M this year. And so I think that, if we come in this offseason and, we say, okay, listen, we have some stuff to overcome as a team. We fix those. We come in strong on our first 2 games. We show everybody, hey, that we're still Alabama, right? We're still where legends are made. And we show people, hey, we're not a team to be looked over, and that we're still Alabama. We're still the ones competing for an SEC championship, still hopefully a national championship. I think that we'll be doing okay. Now, whether we win a national championship, is remains to be seen. I do believe, though, that we will be in the run for it. And that is if we can come out strong, like I hope.
Okay, so here's my question to you, JD. Would be okay, and I agree. I think the attitude has to be Bama pride, Bama standard, right? I think it needs to stay that. You got the nucleus of guys that the Tyler Bookers of the world, the Dylan Moses of the world. Those guys are still in place that kept to help
Dylan Moses.
That mind. I mean,
Deontay Lawson.
Yeah, Deontay Lawson. Excuse me. I just had
no, you're fine.
in the jacuzzi. But listen, the thing is this: what I do concern myself with, for me personally, here's what I concern. I don't think I'm afraid or worried about the offense. Right? I'm in middle camp. I don't understand why people still think that there needs to be quarterback competition. He's a guy. He's like second or third. That's picked to maybe win the Heisman. I think it's DeBoer said, I'm about building around the talent, right? And if he does that, then he builds around the best talented quarterback that he has on the roster right now. That's Jalen Milroe. So, and I know I like Jam. I like the running backs, Justice Haynes. These guys are still here. You still got good tight ends. You still got some receivers that's left over, that you can play with. My concern is this: depth. I'm concerned about the depth of this football team. And I know playing in this conference in the SEC, guys going to get banged up, guys going to get hurt, guys need to play. So I'm worried about depth. Number two, I'm worried about defensively a whole lot. I'm worried about who's going to be the new guys that you can bring in that can get pressure. Who's going to replace Dallas Turner? Who's going to replace Chris Braswell? Who's going to be the cornerbacks? I know we got a guy coming in from Southern Cal. I know, young guys, but I'm concerned. We don't have a ton of experience right there and at the safety position. So I'm fine with interior linemen. I'm fine with the linebackers, but those other positions are huge question marks for Alabama. And so to me, I think it might be in spring and when the portal opens back up, we'll see what happens with Michigan. If their roster opens up, that they're going to have to try to find some pieces there. But depth to me is a huge thing. And on the defense is probably my biggest concern with this football team. I think they're going to be fine offensively. I just worry about the defense more than anything.
Well, and the other thing I'll throw in there too, though, is the schedule, right? I mean, it's not going to be an easy path. You got to look at the schedule. I mean, the third week you go on the road to Wisconsin, and then again, they're not the greatest team, but again, I mean, it's a tough game on the road when you play out of conference. We'll just throw that in there. So then they come back and they face Georgia at home, who we know they're going to have a chip on their shoulder after you just defeated them in the SEC championship and spoiled their three-peat. Then you go on the road to Vanderbilt. That's Vanderbilt, right? Come back at home, play South Carolina. No offense, I know you're Gamecock, but let's just be real. I feel confident about that one.
Game, baby. You better wait.
It might be. We'll see. Then you go on the road to Tennessee, and I'm not sure how Tennessee necessarily will look this season. I think they'll have a decent team. It's always a good matchup though. But just that quarterback is a good quarterback, and it's at Tennessee. And I'm not saying the environments here in the SEC are just that much. But what I'll tell you is, as a player, playing at Tennessee is no easy feat. I'm telling you right now, it is difficult as hell. So I'm excited to see Coach DeBoer in his first matchup at Tennessee, because that's a big one, and we know how much that means to this state and these fans, right? So we'll see that one. Then Missouri, you face them at home. Normally, you would look at Missouri and just say, it's Missouri. Missouri finished, always tough, man. Yeah, well, they finished 8th, right? And they give Georgia issues. So that's a tough matchup right there. And then, long story short, you go on the road to LSU, another tough matchup, man. You know what I mean? Like in Baton Rouge on the road, that's going to be his first time going there.
You got Brian Kelly, man. Brian Kelly's always wishing to beat Alabama. He beat us once.
Oh, yeah.
Want to do it again.
Oh, for sure.
That's going to be a hard one.
Then you got a Cupcake and Mercer, and then you go to Oklahoma, which, again, they are a very good football team. They finished 15th. They're on the road. I'm not necessarily worried about what I'm saying. That's something we typically don't do. That's new on the schedule. And then you come back and face Auburn. So all I'm saying is, for his first year, I'm not going to lie, he has his work cut out for him. It's going to be tough. But, I'm optimistic given, what we're working with and the guys that we have and the people that he's been able to get on board. But we just got to face it. I'm not going to lie. This schedule is not an easy schedule by any means.
No. But that's how I like Alabama. I was born an Alabama fan technically, I like their schedule. You know, there's never been a schedule where you look at Alabama and be like, oh man, we got an easy schedule. You know, but here's the thing I'll say about defense. Okay, our leaders, and this is just for me. You know, this is what I've seen with Texas A&M guys coming in. You know, they came, and I know we beat Texas A&M, okay, but they came to us when we played them this year. When we just beat them, they came in their defense and was like, okay, how many sacks can we get? Right, that season they were like, I mean, you look at their defense and it wasn't perfect, but the way that they were doing it was just, and it made me worry a little bit this year. So, and those are the guys that I think that I hope has a little bit more experience, not in Alabama football, but in Texas A&M football. And I hope, and this is what me and Dad were talking about, and I truly believe that if they come in here and they work their tails off and they become starters, I want them to be coming to guys saying, okay, listen, all right, everybody's counting up. A lot of people are counting us out. Let's go in there and let's be the Alabama football of old. Let's go. I hope some of them go back to 2009, 2010. You know, some of those guys that were just lights out. And I want them to say, let's become like those guys. Let's become what Alabama. Let's become elephants, I guess. In a, I don't know what the word I'm trying to come up with, but you know what I'm saying.
You want them to be dogs like they used to be. You want them.
Yeah.
You want to maintain that standard of Alabama football.
Well,
Hey,
hopefully, JD, they'll get some dogs, man, in here that gets the standard and keep that part of the Nick Saban era going, because they're going to need it with that schedule Christian just talked about. We got to hit a break. We got a guest coming up. Appreciate it, JD. Don't be a stranger, brother. Keep calling in. Roll Tide to you.
Roll Tide, brother.
Quick timeout. We come back. Chris Stewart of the Alabama Sports Network will join us to talk about the big matchup over at Coleman Coliseum. Can the Tide, they go 2-0 against Auburn last year. Can they make it 3 tonight, 6:30 Eastern time? No, that's 7:30 Eastern time, 6:30 Central time. That game is going to be played. Should be a good one. Auburn's on a roll, 11 in a row. Bama. Can they break the streak? We'll ask Chris Stewart. On the flip, back in a moment.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oops. All right, let's see. Brian Kelly won't be there in November. We'll see. I mean, I think if that Michigan job opens up, he could maybe leave. But I wouldn't be shocked if they promote from within and go with Sharon Moore. But I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, we're about to talk Bama hoops and a little bit of football with Chris Stewart. So make sure you guys stay tuned. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video and subscribe if you haven't. That always helps us out, man. We appreciate everybody in here. Let's see. I don't think we've had any dogs since 2016. We've had some, but it's just I don't think we've had the amount of dogs that we've had in years prior. We had a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. 2016, man, just different. Still crazy that we didn't win a national championship that year. That's crazy. That old pick play. What are y'all's thoughts about the game tonight? You think Alabama can get it done against Auburn? And welcome back into this hump day.
If you're in any type of pain, foot pain, knee pain, or back pain, make sure you head on over to the Good Feet store. Go check them out right now. They take care of you with those premium arch supports that are designed to eliminate and alleviate all types of pain. You will not be disappointed. It's try before you buy. You've got nothing to lose, so make sure you check them out. If you're not in Tuscaloosa, you can always head to goodfeet.com and go schedule an appointment there. Again, that's Good Feet, improving the quality of people's lives 2 feet at a time. I think we're still trying to get Chris up, so I'll make sure we get him as soon as we can. This might be him calling in, or it might be somebody else. But as soon as we get him, I'll make sure that we get to him, talk some Alabama-Auburn basketball tonight, and we'll get to that in a second. But see, you're like always, you're getting your snack on. What do you have today, man?
See, I'm letting you bring Chris in. I'll mute up my mic so I can have
No, you did great. No, like I said, we were given a second to get Chris on. I just was asking what you had. Oh, okay. All right, mute it. No, way too loud. Chips are way too loud. Mute it.
There you go.
All right, well, good. We've got Chris on the line now, so we'll go to him while you finish up your chips. We are now joined by a good friend of mine and my partner, Chris Stewart with the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Going to talk a little bit of Alabama basketball and a little bit of Alabama football as well. Chris, how are you this afternoon?
Well, man, I'm great. I hope you are, and I apologize for running a couple of minutes late. You're gonna have to make me run laps, Coach. My bad.
Oh, don't you worry about it, man. Trust me, I'm sure I've been late a couple of times into my responsibilities, but
you're valuable. I'm not.
Oh man, what do you think?
You're valuable,
No,
man.
Chris.
Valuable.
I think Chris. Did you just win another Alabama Broadcaster of the Year award? Did I see that?
I think it was my turn in the rotation, but
He's too humble, man. Way too humble.
They were nice to me, and National Sports Media Association within the state did give me that award, and it's nice of you to mention it. But I said this, and I mean it sincerely. You're only as good as your teammates, man, and it doesn't matter what you do, whether it's in sports or my job, or you're a salesman or whatever your job is. Even a golfer, Nick Dunlap will tell you that he had a pretty good caddy on the bag, helping him to win that tournament the other day. And again, no matter what you're doing in life, you're only as good as your teammates, and you're a fool if you don't understand it. And I know I'm really fortunate to have some great ones. You're absolutely one of them.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I love the humbleness and humility, but no, you definitely are one of the best in the business, if not the best, and definitely love having you a part of the program. Love listening to you, whether I'm working beside you or just tuning in like I will be. Well, I guess I'll be at the game tonight, which I guess we can start there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not missing this atmosphere, but we can start there. Let me get your thoughts, Chris, on this matchup. We know Alabama basketball started the season with a very tough schedule, kind of was pulling it together, started off undefeated in SEC play, then suffered a pretty big loss to Tennessee. How do you see them responding tonight in this big rivalry matchup in Coleman Coliseum against Auburn?
Yeah, Christian, I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to respond. I think they'll play well. I really do. They play terrific at home. I think a stat I heard earlier today was 12-1 when they shoot better than 35% from three, but 0-6 when they're less than that. They got to make some shots, and preferably at a really high clip. But I think they are good enough. Oh, I know they are. They're good enough to play with and beat Auburn. Auburn's not without some flaws, but man, they play so hard, and they'll shoot it well now. They're skilled and all those other things, but the stuff I know you can appreciate, they'll get after you.
Yeah.
And they'll do it on the defensive end. They'll put pressure on you with the way they play on offense. And Alabama didn't handle the physical style of Tennessee. And I don't think Tennessee's as physical as Auburn is. So you better be ready if you're Alabama for this one. Not just from the tip. You better be ready when that bus pulls in at Coleman about 2 hours earlier, because they're going to be they'll have that mindset, and you better have it as well if you're going to match them.
Chris, again, congratulations on the Sportscaster of the Year award. Very, very well deserved.
Thank you, sir.
When you look at this basketball team, I've had the pleasure of watching a lot of games and watching them play. Watched the South Carolina game, in Columbia, and the Gamecock myself. But this team is, if I would say, I don't know if underachieving might be the right word here, but when you look at the talent that they put on the court, you look at some of the transfers that they got in, you feel like they haven't reached their potential yet. Now, I know they played a challenging off-season schedule or non-conference schedule, I should say, and struggled there, but in games could have won pretty much all of those games, which I think helped them, in the SEC. But this is a team I feel like just haven't reached that full potential, and they score a lot of points. That's what they do, but defensively, a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, I agree with you on the defensive end, and Nate's talked about that a lot. And I think part of it, we talked about it on his radio show Monday. These guys are all really good offensively, and they are unselfish, and they pick that up pretty quickly and pretty well. But defensively, there's a lot of communication involved as well, and I don't have to tell you guys that. But regardless of the sport, you better be able to communicate. You better be able to play it as a team. And when you're talking about 9 new guys on a roster and 3 returnees that have only been in the you're looking, there's the opportunity for miscommunication to take place. And they've got to be better at that. I think they're going to be. I've said from the start, guys, that I thought this team would be far better in February and March than they're going to be in November and December, and even in January, February. I just think, or early February. I think this team has got a chance to be great by the time they get to March if they can weather the storms enough and pick up enough wins that'll get them in those meaningful games in March, which obviously include the SEC tournament as well as the NCAA tournament. So I'm excited about where it could be, but you got to get some quality wins. They don't have any. I don't think they have more than 1 or 2 tier 1 wins right now. If that, they've got to get. They need to beat teams like this. They played some really good teams, great teams even. At the time they played them, very close, but they don't have any wins. I do think it would look different right now, guys, if they had gotten Ohio State and Clemson early in the schedule. I think it would have had a different look if they had been able to get there. So I think that's part of why we have the perception of this team that we do, but the reality is, they need a win against a team like Auburn to get them the type of credibility and recognition that they want to have, and to put themselves in a spot where they can truly be the team that I think they can be, and a lot of others think they can be as well.
We're now joined by Chris Stewart of the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Chris, I know you like to do like keys to the game or keys to victory. When you look at this matchup, I know you got guys like Mark Sears, who's been phenomenal this season. Aaron Estrada. I know Grant Nelson, kind of fluctuates with his performances, but still a very important piece. What do you think the keys are tonight in this matchup specifically for Alabama to get that big win like you just mentioned?
Well, we basically touched on it to a degree already, but when you put it in that way, I'll tell you clearly, I think you got to make shots from 3. They've got to be able to do that so that they can open up opportunities for them at the rim. But they've got to make threes at a good clip, and they've got to be able to match what Auburn's going to bring in terms of toughness and physicality, and that can translate a lot of ways. Rebounding, hanging on the basketball. Way too many turnovers against Tennessee. Way too many. And your ability to handle the pressure and the toughness and the physicality that Auburn will bring and maintain possession of the ball and not be way too generous with it. Those are things you better be able to do if you want to come out with a win against such a team that's as good as the Tigers are. So I would say, ball's going through the net early from 3, and Bama's not turning it over at a real high rate, then I think you got a chance to feel a whole lot better when that final buzzer sounds.
Yeah, Alabama very sloppy. Last game against Tennessee, committing 22 turnovers. Of course, the ball scored about 23 points off of those turnovers. Alabama losing about 20 in that ball game. When you talk about Bruce Pearl, when you talk about his resume, being at Tennessee, being around different stuff, been very successful. I always think of it like this, Chris. I think, anytime, whether it's football, basketball, whatever the sport may be, players take on the persona of their coach. And there's no doubt, Auburn and Bruce Pearl, toughness, they're going to get after you. They're going to bring it. They're going to play hard. They're going to play trash basketball. They're going to get on the floor for loose balls. This is what they do. And to me, they're taking on that Bruce Pearl mindset, right? I mean, this guy taking his shirt off and getting to stand with fingers. And the basketball team kind of the same way, right? Scrappy, tough, not the perfect. If you just look at them just shooting threes at high percentage, that's not who they are all the time. But man, they win the 50-50 balls, they win the floor balls, they win those types of things.
No doubt. And I've told Bruce this before. Man, I don't want to like you as much as I do, but I can't help it because I really do. I do appreciate what he's done for the game in our state. Look, I'll get mad at him just like anybody else in the heat of the ball game and those situations. And man, I can't stand it when they do things that work against my team. But I have a lot of respect for him and the success that he's had. And I knew when he came to Auburn that it was going to make Alabama better. And what I mean by that is he was going to raise the stakes, and we were either going to have to match it or fall behind. And thankfully, we've had an administration that understood and went out and found a guy. I always have to start this. I think Avery Johnson made it better. I think he left a really good foundation, and Nate built off that tremendously and has just elevated it, I think, more quickly and at a rate that people may not have thought was possible. But I'm so excited about where this thing is going. And you're right. They play to his personality. Nate Oates is trying to get his team to do that because we know he's every bit as fiery as Bruce is and tough, hard-nosed, and he's not seeing that at the rate or the consistency that he wants to from his squad, especially on the defensive end. But if we can see that tonight, then I think we're going to feel a whole lot better when the ball game ends.
Chris, real quick before we let you go, I want to get your thoughts, segueing over to football real quick, just kind of your first impression so far of Coach DeBoer. We all know that he's Coach Saban's successor. He's hit the ground running. He's on the road, recruiting, trying to fill out his staff. Just overall, what are your first impressions of Coach DeBoer? I'm sure you've gotten a chance to kind of be around him a little bit. What are those first impressions like?
Yeah, I will say to your last point there, Christian, it's minimal. You may have spent more time actually talking to him the other day after the press conference, or the coronation, as I call it, when we have one like that in Tuscaloosa. Mm-hmm. He was available with some folks really close to the program, and I know you were there and had a chance to visit a little bit. I did the same, not in that setting, but prior to his introduction there inside the stadium, and it was I thought a fantastic introduction. Just to be candid, I thought he was really good without coming across as somebody who was trying to play to a crowd. Mm-hmm. I thought he was genuine. I thought he was able to kind of show who he was in very simple terms. And look, there are a lot of us that were talking afterwards. I'm excited about this guy. It's just hard for me to feel any excitement at the moment because it's sad about what's come to a close. We've had the greatest coach of this era call it quits. And after 17 amazing years of him at the University of Alabama, and you obviously were a major part of that, Christian, it's sad to see that come to a close. I'm happy for him, thrilled for he and Terry that they get some time them probably for the first time in their adult lives, their married lives, to have a schedule that is theirs and simply do and be who they, want to be in their own time to do so. But when you move past that, I thought it was a great hire. I think it's an exciting situation because you got a man who's won at every level. I know that people will downplay what happened in his NAIA championships. Let me tell you,
I'm one of them, Chris. I'm one of them. I'm sorry. I'm one of them.
No, I get it. But let me tell you where I'm coming from with it. I did play-by-play for 8 years at Birmingham Southern, 7 of which were during their time in the NAIA. And I never saw an NAIA football game, okay? But I saw NAIA basketball and baseball as well. And at its highest level, the year that Birmingham Southern won the baseball national championship, Corey, they beat, I think, 3 Division I programs that year. The year that they won in basketball, they took Mississippi State, or one of the 2 years they won the national championship in basketball, they took Mississippi State to the buzzer. And I think lost at the buzzer in Starkville. And a couple of other Division I teams took them to the wire. The best teams in the NAIA can play with anybody in the bottom 2/3 of NCAA Division I. Okay? They're not going to beat the elite teams in Division I. But you know what? Ain't nobody in Division I beating them. It's in that bottom 2/3 either. So my point is, if it's a level playing field, and that's what you're supposed to have no matter what level you're playing on, winning is winning. And the fact that he went and in 2 years, he had success at Fresno, enough that he got the job at Washington, and in 2 years took a Washington team that wasn't any good and built them to within one victory of a national title. That says a lot to me. He proved that, I did it at a smaller level, but I showed I can do it at a bigger level. What's he going to do when he's got all the weapons and resources available to them, like a place at the University of Alabama? And no matter what's happened in the transfer portal, the cupboard ain't bare. I mean, he's inheriting the keys to a Cadillac now.
Oh, yeah.
It may have a slight scuff on it, but you can get that dent knocked out now. And he's going to drive that thing. He's going to get that thing driven just right. I truly believe it. And I'm excited about what it's going to look like and where we're going to be talking about this program, not just the season, but the program as a whole 4 and 5 years from right now.
Man, I love the way you put that, man. That's very well said. Chris has a way with words, man.
I'm almost like, daggone, man. I need to reassess, maybe.
Chris, you might be the savior to get this guy to finally kind of start seeing some of those positives in this. So, Chris, I appreciate that. You always have a way with words. And speaking of that, one of your famous phrases is, "Let's get out of here." Hopefully we have you, state that on the call tonight once we beat Auburn. But I know you have some merch, some T-shirts with that. You want to tell everybody where they can find those shirts? Because I think a lot of people love those.
You're really nice. Crimson Tide Sports Network and J&J Apparel, said they wanted to do something with that, and I was really flattered that they did, and even more flattered that they allowed me to have some input with it. And my daughter, the initial design came from J&J, but my daughter, who's a Bama grad, played with a design that they wound up liking better. We all really liked it, and that's the one they went with on the shirt. So jnjapparel.com, I think you search "Let's Get Out of Here," it'll be in there. But I appreciate you guys.
Hey, you got any 3X talls? Can I get a 3X tall?
They can make it.
I tell you what, if not, we'll get 2 double X's and stitch them together for you, brother. How about
that? Oh man, Chris Stewart, man, of the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Thank you so much, Chris, for your time, man. Have a great call tonight. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Great interview. Great interview. All right, we're way up against it, but we got to get out of here. That was worth Let's get out of here just for a moment because we got more segments to go.
Really good stuff, man. Always love having Chris on here, man. I think that was very well said, man, about Coach DeBoer and giving Chris's background with NAIA. And maybe that's what we needed. Maybe we needed a little bit of that from Chris to kind of get my dad over the hump. Give give a little more credit, but I'm just playing. But no, I'm excited about the game tonight. Is anybody going to be in town? Anybody going to the basketball game? Or are you planning on watching it at home? Hopefully it's a good one. I know it will be. Hopefully we can pull it out. We only have, let me see, come back. We probably got like 4 minutes. Let's see. We got like 3 minutes. All right. I agree, Sam. Chris is a man. Great at what he does. I mean, he's phenomenal on the call, but even outside of that, man, phenomenal human being. Somebody who definitely won your foxhole, I can tell you that. Great guy. I'm gonna follow some of this Greg McElroy stuff, man. This is I'm still trying to figure all this out. Do you know if Eli will alternate the play-by-play? I'll be honest, guys. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure the game plan going into next year. That's a great question, though. Definitely a difficult situation when you have two greats, man. You got a legend as an Eli who's still calling games, still capable. And you got Chris, another legend, man, who does such a great job. So if Eli's still up for calling games, I think he still would definitely be involved. But I love working with both of them, man. Two really great broadcasters, great people, great mentors. So I'm very fortunate to work alongside both of them. Dang, man, people on Twitter are going after Greg, man. I mean, have y'all seen all this? I mean, this is wild.
The Crimson Tide Sports Network joining us there in the last segment. We were a little long because he's just that good. So you can catch that on the website, Tide 100.9. We'll get that up for you. I've got to get up out of here and make way for Ryan Fowler and his crew in the game. That would be always entertainment. I always like to listen to all those folks on there. Very funny. Make sure you keep it locked right here on the Tide 100.9. BC. If you're on hold, we'll get you tomorrow. Don't forget Stephen M. Smith in his own words will join us on the program to talk about Alabama and Kalen DeBoer.
And if you, I was about to say, and if you need any Alabama gear for tonight's big matchup against Auburn, you know where to go. Head on over to Alumni Hall in Midtown Village in Tuscaloosa. They got all the officially licensed Alabama gear right there for you in the store. They got the jackets, hoodies. They probably got jerseys. I know they got the hat wall. They've got everything you can imagine right there at Alumni Hall in Midtown Village. So go get your Crimson Tide gear there right there at Alumni Hall. If not, you can always go to alumnihall.com for the ultimate Crimson Tide fan shop. We got to get out of here, make room for Ryan Fowler and the game. We'll see you guys tomorrow. This has been the Miller's Edge right here on Tide 100.9, 1230 a.m. WTBC. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Miller